Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? How's it been? So welcome back to another video. If you have not subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. And also, along the way, give this video a like or maybe a thumbs down and possibly a comment. So anyway, let's get into the video. So for today's video, I am just sharing with you my OG makeup products, my old school makeup favorites, things that I used to love. And we're going to take it back quite a bit because the ones I'm referring to were basically my ultimate holy grails probably about a decade or so ago. Maybe some a little more recent and some maybe not so recent. Also, I have maybe about half of these products in my collection right now, maybe a little less than that. So I think for most of the products I'm just going to have to share with you like a little clip here, an insert of the products, instead of actually being able to hold it up and show you. So I do also want to preface this with the fact that when I very first started getting into makeup, like in my teenage years, a lot of these types of products I did not use. And so by the time I hit college, I was just really more deeply delving into makeup. And so that's like when I learned more about bronzer and highlight and face primer, things like that. So there are a few categories here where I really don't have products to show because I didn't really develop any favorites because I wasn't that fully into makeup, I guess you could say. So starting out, the primer that I used to use all the time and love, we'll say about a decade ago or so, was the Maybelline Baby Skin Instant Pore Eraser Primer. They do still sell this. I still do think that this is a really good product. It's definitely affordable. I think it goes between $5 and $6, maybe $7. This is basically like a silicone primer, which I enjoy. It does give you a pore minimizing effect, and it also just kind of blurs the skin out and kind of evens it out to apply makeup. And I would still highly recommend this product as a face primer, especially for like beginning makeup. I think this is really great. Alright, and then moving into foundation, this is going to be a category where I have to just show you the products here. So the first one that I used to love is the e.l.f. Tinted Moisturizer. They do not sell this anymore. They have since like revamped it or replaced it with some other like tinted moisturizer type products and maybe like the CC cream. The shade range was complete garbage on it though. There's only like 2 or 3 colors. Alright, sorry about that brief pause I probably cut out there in the midst of talking, but I had to get my kid out of the bathtub. So it is like bedtime here, so I'm just going to go ahead and try to make this brief. My contacts are blurry. I also put in some eye drops, so you can really tell that too. So anyway, this tinted moisturizer had about 2 shades, 2 or 3, so it was not inclusive at all. However, if one of these shades worked for you, this was like the most perfect formula ever. It was soft, it was light, it was airy, but it had enough coverage that it really could even out your skin tone, and it kind of had like a satin finish to it. It was amazing. Especially, it was like $3 too. It was $3. It was amazing. However, I felt like I ran through it super quick. Like I would have to buy a new bottle of it every month because it would run out that quick. However, if they still made that, I would still purchase it and I would still recommend it because I think it's good. I mean, obviously, if you were to be able to find your shade. Alright, and so the next one that I used a lot also was a Rimmel foundation. I will have to go ahead and locate a picture of it to show you what it was because I don't even remember the name of it. But I think maybe they still sell it. It just may be repackaged. But the shade range on this one was a lot better. And it was labeled as a full coverage foundation, but it wasn't heavy and it wasn't cakey, and it just looked so good on the skin. It was like fresh and even, and it was more of a neutral tones I catered to instead of all cool tones like most drugstore foundations do. So if you had like warmer undertones or like neutral undertones, this was more of a foundation that would you could find a shade match that would work better for you without looking orange or muddy or just the wrong shade. So I bought this one all the time too. And again, this was something that was super affordable in price. It was like $5. And then for concealer, I had tried multiple concealers through that time, like mostly drugstore concealers and whatever. But the one that I really liked that I kept repurchasing, I actually have an empty version right here. This is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Eraser. This is the dark circle one. They still sell this. It comes with a sponge top applicator. I will be repurchasing this soon because I just love it that much. It's also, to me, it's got more warmer tones to it. So this is more of like a yellow toned concealer when you locate a shade that works for you. And it's just so like silky soft. To me, it's more of a medium coverage though, and kind of like a satin finish. So it's not one of those heavy, dry, cakey, full coverage concealers. Sorry, I have to learn how to not try to fix my hair and stuff like while I'm talking, because then it just ruins everything, but we'll be working on that. Just a little bit of this goes a long way, and it really brightens up the under eyes. It doesn't budge or move around, and it lasts all day. And to me, honestly, this is probably the only concealer that you would need in your collection. You know, if you don't have something major that you need to cover up or anything like that, just for your under eye area, this is perfect. So for powder, this is, the lid on it is broke, but this is the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder in the shade Transparent. Obviously, it's not very transparent. It does have a yellow tint to it, which again, I don't mind. I have neutral, more warmer undertones in my skin, so the yellowness or the yellow tones to products really work with my skin tone. I will take the lid off. Again, this is something that's like $4 or $5 at the drugstore. They do still sell this. It looks like this. This was my ride or die powder. I still like it. I would still recommend it. However, my skin's like super dry now. So if you have dry skin, I don't think you'll like this as much as I used to like it, because I've noticed that when I use it now, it's not a complete favorite for me. Like, it's not something that I gravitate towards now. And so because it's just too much for dry skin, it doesn't look the greatest on dry skin. But if you have like normal skin or oily skin, combo oily, something in that range, I think you'll really love this powder. It stays put all day. It helps keep your makeup on all day. It looks good on the skin. It's not thick or heavy and look like powder, and it doesn't cake up or anything like that. It's just a beautiful powder, and I feel like this is one of the best products that Rimmel has ever released. Alright, so I think I'll move on into cheeks before I do eyes, because I really only have a bronzer. Back about a decade or so ago and beyond, well, beyond, like before about a decade ago, like when I was in my teenager years, I didn't use a bronzer or a highlight. I honestly don't even think I knew what those products were. But when I was in college, I got more into makeup, and then I discovered bronzers, and I tried a bunch, did not like them, could not understand why people even wore bronzer, because it looked muddy and dark and bad on me, and I could not, I didn't like it. I could not figure out why people wore these things. However, and then I found a bronzer that worked for my skin tone, that looked good, that didn't look dark, deep, like muddy and orange. Like, it wasn't too dark or deep for me. It was actually a shade that worked for my skin, and so it looked more natural, and it did what it was supposed to do. And that was the Too Faced Milk Chocolate bronzer. They do still sell this. They have repackaged it though a time or two possibly since then. It is still a product I would recommend. They do have different shade variations, and they also have a few other bronzers as well. So they have a more shimmery, glowy bronzer, which is my preference in bronzers. The chocolate is a matte bronzer. So if you like matte bronzers and you're like light to fair complected, it should work great for you. And I used that every single day until that was gone, and it was amazing. I really like it. And still to this day, when I'm looking at bronzers to buy, I would still try to compare them to that bronzer because that was the first one that I really liked and that worked for my skin. So like I said, I don't have any blushes or highlights to show because I mean, I wore blush about a decade ago, but I didn't really have any favorites. It was just kind of something I did as part of the routine. So sorry about that. And then I wasn't really into highlighters. I was still like learning some things. And also about 10 years ago or more, to be honest, highlighters weren't even really a thing. When you went to buy highlighters, especially in the drugstore, there was like maybe one highlighter in the drugstore. Like, people were not really doing highlighters, weren't really wearing highlighters. And then for eyeshadow, I'm going to show you an eyeshadow palette or a picture of one if I can locate that on the interwebs today. But in general, my favorite eyeshadows that I had, that I wore, that I wanted, were Urban Decay eyeshadows. So they had palettes at the time. They still have palettes now, obviously, and they had singles. So I had a bunch of their singles. And then the one that really kicked me off on their brand and their eyeshadows was this shadow box. It was, I don't know, yay big. It had what, 9, 12 eyeshadows in it. I'll show it here if I can find it. And I loved every single color in that eyeshadow palette, and I used the eyeshadow palette up completely. Like, I wouldn't use anything else. I would just use that, and that would be all that I would use, and I loved it. I loved every look I did. The eyeshadows lasted a long time, like all day long, like with no primer, because that was something else I didn't use really other than the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer. The eyeshadows were amazing. They looked great. They were killing it, right? They were killing it. And then moving on to eyeliners, really the only eyeliner that I really liked, I tried a bunch from the drugstore and this and that, and nothing really worked for me. Pencils were hard to get on the eye. If you could get them on the eye, they completely disappeared. Nothing would go in your waterline. It was like awful times, okay? The ancient times were awful times for makeup, okay? Until I found the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On eye pencils. Now, I know a lot of people have beef with these, and a lot of people say these don't stay in their waterline either. However, this is the only eyeliner I could find that was a pencil that would stay in my waterline and would go over shadows with like one stroke solid color. No. However, today there is a drugstore version basically of this pencil floating around. It's the Milani Stay Put eyeliner. I do think though they only have a black shade, maybe a brown shade too now, unless they've expanded last time I looked and before, since I bought it. Oh, mascara, I almost forgot mascara. I still love this mascara to this day, but it is the Maybelline, the Falsies mascara. I think they still sell this original version. Not sure, because they came out with that new one. The new one, I have it here. It's the Maybelline, the Falsies Lash Lift. I haven't had this long, maybe about a week. And guess what, guys? I don't really care for it. Maybe I will in time, but right now I don't care for it. I think the original version or idea behind this mascara was better, like the original Falsies. I prefer that one over this one. So if they still sell the original version of this mascara, I would run and grab that. I have used so many bottles of that in the last decade, I can't even tell you. But yes, I would, again, recommend that one still. Alright, and then let's jump into lips and then we'll be done here because I have seriously got to get these kids to sleep so I can get up and go to work in the morning on time. So, lip liners. I used to always wear a lip liner. Under all of my lip products, always had a lip liner. These days, not so much. I can't ever remember to put one on before I do a lip, so. And so my go-to eyeliners were the NYX lip liners. It was just their like solid, slim lip liners, whatever they're called, that they sold for like $3, $3 or $4. Now I think they're about $5.50, and they do still sell them. This is just one that I currently have in my collection. They are the sharpened pencils, so they're wood, so you do have to sharpen them. But I think that these pencils were the cheapest pencils on the market that worked so great, and their shade range was amazing. I had like every one of these back in the day. They are still good. I would still recommend them. Alright, and lastly for lips, it was kind of hard for me to pick like a lip product because I've always been a lip junkie. I love lip products. That will be what I will buy most of, other than eyeshadows. So I've always had a bunch. I always have liked, you know, various lines and collections and brands of lipstick. But one that was just a true ride or die brand with a permanent line of lipsticks that were always around was just MAC. I can't help it. It's MAC. You could always buy MAC lipsticks. They're always available. They have a nice wide selection of colors. So, I mean, and they have different finishes as well. This is just one little MAC lipstick here. And I have several of these in my collection now, and I had several of them a super long time ago. They last a long time. I still love them. My favorites, some of my favorites back in the day were Heroine. That was the MAC, the purple MAC one, wasn't it? I think so. MAC Heroine, Candy Yum Yum, which they still sell. I still love it. Ruby Woo, again, still have that, still love it. Alright, so these were my old school favorite makeup products, my ride or dies, holy grails from forever ago. Not gonna lie, I am tired. I just kind of wish this video would end. I've been going on and on and on. And so here we are at the end. So hope y'all have a great night.